You know, just like the game of Monopoly, where one has to navigate the board and acquire property and gather experiences, I've come to realize that returning home is the ultimate winning move in the grand game of life. And today really drives that notion home.
On May 9th, 2024, the small town of Macomb, Illinois, turned its city square into the world's largest game of Monopoly.
I'm joined by Jock Hedblade, Executive Director of Visit Unforgettable Forgottonia. How are you today?
I'm doing great.
Thanks for joining me.
Oh, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm really happy you asked.
All right. So first of all, how did the idea come about for the world's largest Monopoly game, and why in Macomb, Illinois?
Macomb and Forgottonia here in McDonough County is a gorgeous, bucolic, wonderful place to grow up to, and it was a great place for me to come back. I came back, I kept very strong ties here. But what we didn't have were attractions that were unique and that were available, 24/7, 365 days a year, unlike the festivals are that last for a weekend or a week or something like that. So although it's not the job to do this, I said, well, we've got to start to build some stuff. And as we started looking into things, one of the things that had popped up about 6 years before I came down here it was discovered through a book by Mary Pylon, who works for the New York Times and is a best-selling author of the book Monopolist, found out that Lizzie Magie, who invented the game of Monopoly, she invented this game called the Landlord's Game that morphed into Monopoly, was born right here in Macomb, Illinois. And we happen to have a downtown square with a courthouse in the middle that is the exact plat of a Monopoly board. And so from there, it was like, well, I think we kind of got one of our attractions, our main attraction, in the bag. Now, it took us 6 years to get here, a little over 6 years to get here, but we did accomplish it. And that's kind of how it all started. So we're really ground zero for Monopoly.
Okay, great. So when people visit your town, how exactly do they play the game?
The downtown square now, we use the sidewalks around the downtown square as your game board. Okay. And within that environment, we have these giant Monopoly pieces, game pieces all around the downtown square. And then on the four corners of the square, we have the corners that were on our version of what would have looked like a Monopoly type of a game. We are Macombopoly. Mm-hmm. And so we have these sidewalk slicks that are there. On each one of those slicks, there's a QR code that you can download, and then you play this game through a state-of-the-art app that gamifies the downtown. And it's like Monopoly, but it's also got a lot of other stuff in it. There's a Trivial Pursuit aspect to it. There's lots of trivia. There's lots of history. There are coupons that you can win. It takes quite a while to play the game all the way through, and you have to go around the downtown square several times. But that's how you come and that's how you play. And we've had an unbelievably tremendous response to this since we opened it on May 9th this year, which happened to be Lizzie Magie's birthday.
Oh, wow. That's very exciting. So I understand that it's open 24/7 and it's free of charge. Is that correct?
That's right. That's right.
Wow. Okay. So now, is it lit up at night? And what about, let's say, rain or snow or weather permitting?
Well, yes, the downtown square is very well lit. And so you can play that at night if you wanted to, rain or snow, whatever's there, that's up to you. We don't have we wish we could pull a tarp over the downtown square when that happens, but unfortunately we can't, not yet anyway. But yeah, you can play it at any time. Of course, if you come here and play this at 2 o'clock in the morning, we would wish that everybody would play it a little more quietly because there are people that live above a lot of the businesses on downtown square, but we haven't had any trouble with that.
All right. Can you talk about who designed and built this large Monopoly game there?
Yeah. Well, we worked with a company out of Chicago called eATLAS that had been doing scavenger hunt type of games. And we had already put together a map for our Looking for Lincoln story here. We have a pretty strong Lincoln story in this town. We have a 10-site self-guided tour. We have a giant 16-foot tall bust of Abraham Lincoln that's made out of a 3D printer with cement, and his beard is flowers, live plants. So it's like a topiary kind of a roadside thing. We had already built that, but they came in and helped to kind of put a scavenger hunt within it and add coupons and that stuff. And at the time, we were working on about halfway through the Macombopoly game here, but we were still looking for somebody that could gamify it, that we could have an app. We knew it had to be, played in a phone, because not only would people demand it, but it wasn't practical to try to play this game, as you being the game piece and going around there. There may be some times in the future we might do that on special occasions, but it wasn't practical for a day-to-day type of a thing. And so this was something they hadn't done before, and we worked closely hand in hand with them for a year building this. They had the nuts and bolts of it and put it together. We kind of had the concepts and the ideas. We bounced ideas off of them, and we worked very closely together on creating this downtown area that has Macombopoly in it. So, there's video. Lizzie Magie talks to you in this. She's animated. Abraham Lincoln's there. There's actually a connection between Lizzie and Abraham Lincoln. So that's and it all kind of happened because of here in Macomb. So that's how we did it.
Yeah, and when I saw the pictures and the video, I see these large sculptures that I guess some of them can turn.
Well, we have a pair of dice that stand on top of each other, and they turn independently. Yes, we also have a giant Lincoln's stovepipe hat. Okay. We have a giant representation of the board as it was when Lizzie invented it and split in half, and then how it is today. And then we have another one of the game pieces is Lizzie Magie in the form of a game piece.
Oh,
and then we have to go to jail too. If you get thrown in jail on this game, the only way you get out of jail is by taking a selfie and posting it on social media. And then you're released from jail and continue the game.
Oh, that's exciting. Yeah. Wow. So do you encourage people to bring their own Monopoly game board and pieces?
I don't know. It's possible. I haven't seen that yet. We do have our own game here, Macombopoly, that we sell a lot of, and downtown businesses sell it here. Oh. But what we're looking to do in regard to your question there is down the road here and over the winter, we're going to be looking for any type of Monopoly tournaments that happen that we might be able to host here. And would hope then people would bring their own games. And we want to design something that will allow people to do that. What we've released on May 9th is just what we hope is phase one of a growing attraction, that we could add different things to and build out as time goes by and as popularity increases.
So how much has the tourism increased since May when this all opened up?
Well, we're still crunching some of those numbers, but I can tell you that thousands of people have played the game from virtually every state in the Union, and including Canada and China internationally. Those are just what we know of. Some people just show up and don't play the game and just want to have the experience. The city had just done some number crunching and some studies on people visiting the downtown square. And this seems almost unbelievable, but I think it's possible given what we've seen here, that from May 1st to August, and we started this thing on May 9th, but we had 600 people downloaded the app before they could even play it. Almost 500,000 people have been visited the downtown square in that time. So it's pretty amazing. Well, are all of those people playing Macombopoly? Well, probably not, but the numbers have gone up, and whether or not they're playing Monopoly or not, it coincides exactly with our launch of Monopoly. So we're pretty confident in thinking that a lot of those people that are visiting are from here, but we're able to keep a pretty good track of where they're coming from, and they're coming from everywhere. And if they're not making a special trip to do this, we've had people that were driving from Seattle to Niagara Falls and took a a severe, left turn and went south just to come here and play this game before they moved on with their thing. So we've been very, very grateful and very not necessarily surprised because we understand the popularity of Monopoly. But the fact that it has really taken a hold like this, when we launched this game, we had media coverage at over 740 different media outlets across the nation. It was like, whoa, wow. So that's a lot for a little town like us.
Yes. And many people are probably wondering, is there some sort of a prize at the end of the game? Let's say you win.
It is a competitive game in the fact that there are standings where you can be the leader or not. Within the game, however, there are a lot of different coupons and discount coupons from across the town in businesses and restaurants and that you can win by going through the proper channels of answering the right questions. What happens is some of these things you'll get a trivia question, and then down the road, you've got to remember that trivia question and then be able to answer it again. We plan on expanding some of those things too, but like I said, we're just in phase one, getting through our first season here. But the ideas right now are endless. Really, every day we have a new one of something that we like. Wow, we could do that. So we're excited about it.
So for those familiar with the Monopoly Go app, would you say it's similar to that?
I think it's similar in the fact that it is an app, but it is definitely different to that in the way that it works with, there's not properties that you own here, you move down the spaces, but it's all geared towards this area in this region. And so there's a lot more trivia and, opportunities to go and see another attraction here and take a picture with it and come back. So there are those Monopoly elements in it that people will recognize, but it's really kind of more than that even.
Okay. So like you said, what other attractions are there in Macomb? People can check out when they're there.
Yeah, well, we have a tremendous amount of history here. Like I talked about before, Abraham Lincoln had a very close tie to this town and was here oftentimes before he was president and running for Senate. In fact, he stayed in one of the hotels here and devised what people know now as the Freeport question, because when we left Macomb, he went to Freeport. And that was a question that was devised during the debates to throw Douglas off his track when it came to the slave question, which lost Lincoln his bid for the Senate. But when he ran against him 2 years later as president, he was able to beat him. So that's a very important thing in the history of Abraham Lincoln and this nation that happened here in Macomb. We've got the 10 sites. We've got a murals tour. C.T. Vivian, who was one of the cornerstones of the civil rights movement, was involved with it before MLK was, brought Martin Luther into the fold of this game. This was his hometown. We have a giant mural about 70 feet long of him, his whole history during the civil rights movement, from the time that he graduated here from high school to the time that he got the presidential award. So we have that, a lot of recreation, a couple of different lakes. There's a prairie labyrinth here. It goes on and on and on. We have a pretty full list of those things at www.visitforgottonia.com that you'll see that there's an awful lot to do in this tiny burg.
That sounds great. So how easy is it to get to Macomb via plane, train, or car?
You can take a train from Chicago, Illinois, and land literally right outside of our office because it's in the train depot here. Our office is. Oh. There are major interstates that get you down here from about any direction. Our kind of bailiwick that we're promoting to is a 250-mile radius to bring in the folks from Kansas City, Chicago, St. Louis, Indianapolis, Des Moines, Quad Cities, all of that. And it's a very easy day trip. And again, if you want to use Amtrak, it even gets easier. So it's a little off the beaten track, but it's a fun drive. I would say, you're probably 30, 35 minutes off the interstate. But it's a very scenic, beautiful drive to get here. So it's kind of tucked away, but that hasn't been stopping anybody so far. So that's good.
All right. Any final comments before we wrap up?
No, I'd just like you to you reached out and said that you were a big Monopoly fan. Is that true?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. Well, then you need to come here and be our guest and enjoy this game. And we invite everybody out there to come and visit Unforgettable Forgottonia in Macomb, Illinois. Would love to have you.
Yeah, I would love to stop by sometime.
Love to have you.
All right. Thanks so much. It was nice talking with you today.
Thank you. Really appreciate the opportunity.